Hello, everyone. I just wanted to do a quick little video on we posted 21 points to what's going on in Hillsdale, um, and the, to kind of expose the local government tyranny that's happening. And this video is going to cover points one and two. Point one is our county clerk, Marty Cast, in her office, also along with several other government officials, rigged a precinct delegate election. And number two, our county clerk, Marty Cast, in her office, helped in covering up election fraud and has tried to silence the people that are speaking out, namely Stephanie Scott in Adams Township. Um, so let's start. Our county clerk, Marty Cast. There's in January and February, us American First candidates for precinct delegate had gone to Marty Cast's office and tried to get applications to apply to run as precinct delegates. A lot of our people were turned away, said, well, come back later. Abe and Marty aren't here, and they're the only ones that can hand that out. Now, I'm going to tell you that's a falsehood by the Constitution. Everybody in that office is supposed to be trained and able to take up the helm of that office and whatever needs to be done in that office. And that's by Constitution. She's a constitutional officer. So that in and of itself wasn't true. They could have handed that paperwork out to anybody. And so some of our people that drove 30 minutes was told come back another time. Well, they'd already spent the time and money to go there, and they should have been able to get the application. So when that didn't happen in March, we got a copy of the application, made multiple copies. And at our regular monthly meeting on March, we allowed people that wanted to run as precinct delegates that were there and supporting the Republican Party and members and endorsed by the Republican Party to go ahead and sign up. We had Dennis Wainscott there. He's an old Republican. He notarized all of the applications. We turned the applications in. Marnie contacted me within a couple days and said, there's a bunch of problems on the applications. We said, okay. I said, Marnie, just put sticky notes on there of everything that needs to be taken care of, and I'll come and get that packet, and we'll get them all taken care of. And so she did, and I went up and I got them, and I brought them back, and we contacted everybody, and we got all those things taken care of, all those little things like the precinct number that we've never had to do before. And I get it. That's they want that done. They want to go by the letter of the law now, especially with everything that's gone on in the past. Not a problem. We'll take care of that. And so we did all those things. We took care of everything on every sticky note on every application that Marnie had put on there. From that point on, after I turned them in, Marnie started publishing them that we would be on the ballot. Those people that filled out those applications would be on the ballot. So we didn't think anything about it. April came around. There's a paper that we have to put in, and we're new to this. This is the first cycle that we've run the Republican Party, and of course the other Republican Party. They never taught anybody anything. They didn't want anybody to know anything that went on. So we were kind of learning this on our own. We had a piece of paper that needed to be turned in to set the amount of precinct delegate slots that we had in the county and in the precincts. We were supposed to have it turned in by Friday night. We didn't have it turned in until Monday morning. So when we turned it in Monday morning, uh, Marty wouldn't accept it. She said it had to go before the election commission. Now, the election commission is made up of um, probate judge, Judge Michelle Bianchi, county clerk Marnie Cast, and county treasurer Stephanie Kaiser. Now, when it went before her, Marnie recommended that we be knocked down from 133 slots to 100 slots. Now, we thought that was kind of arbitrary and kind of weird. And we asked if she had the justification for it. She said, well, it was because of the cost of the ballots. When we asked, can you show your numbers on that? Can you show us the figures? She didn't have any figures to show. Even Judge Bianchi asked for those figures, and Marnie couldn't show those figures. We thought it was odd that the Democrat Party would have 102 precinct delegate slots and only one application and they had 102 slots. And yet we were knocked down from 133 to 100. Now, we didn't quite figure out what was going on yet at this point, but we thought it was odd. Then June 6th came. On June 5th and June 6th, Marnie accepted over 70 applications. Those applications, out of those 70, 62 of them were either elected officials, applications for elected officials to run as precinct delegates, which they don't have to because they're called delegates at large. They already had a voting spot at the table. So why would they put in an application? The staff from their offices or family. So 62 of those applications fit in that category, either elected officials, the staff in their offices, or family members. So we thought that was odd, that in the last 2 days before they closed the applications, Marnie received 70 of them from the neocon, moderate blue dog Democrat Republicans. We all got a letter on the vast majority, almost all of the America First precinct delegates that put our applications in and filled them out in March received letters on June 7th letting us know that our applications were thrown out because the Notary Public hadn't dated the form. Now, the Notary Public stamped over the top of the date that we all dated, but that wasn't, she wouldn't accept that. Never at any time when she handed those ballots or those applications back did she have a sticky note that said that the notary had to sign the date. There wasn't a one there. Had there been that sticky note, we would have taken care of it. So we thought it was odd. Now, why would that happen? That she would throw us all out and not allow us to have the applications on a technicality. So she's saying she held on to all of those America First applications for since the beginning of March, the latter end of the first part of March, all the way to June 6th before she realized that there wasn't a date on them, without allowing anybody, when she had everyone's contact information, to come in, or just one person, which was Dennis Wainscott, have him come in and date them. No, she didn't do that. But yet on the last 2 days, she could accept 70 applications and know that almost the majority of them were all right. Now, we got some problems with that. Ralph Riley actually went in and had Marnie help him with his application. They threw his application out. My daughter, Danielle, had gone in, and Abe actually filled her application out right in front of her and threw it out on the last day. So we realized that there were some problems. We didn't quite know what was going on, but we started to realize that something didn't smell right, didn't pass the sniff test. So we started doing a little bit of talking, a little bit of investigation, and then we found out that there had been, since the beginning of the year, or possibly sooner, a group of elected officials that were meeting in secret that had hatched this plan to fix the precinct delegate election in 2022. And that's exactly what they were doing. So we realized, as we were doing this investigation, of course, we hadn't quite figured that out yet. So we decided, you know what, all of our people got thrown out should run as write-in candidates. Now, we all know how impossible it is to win a write-in candidacy. So we had all the write-ins, put in write-in applications. And with that, then we went ahead and printed flyers and sent them out, because write-in candidacies are so hard to win. People need to know that those people were viable candidates that could be written in on the ballot. Shortly after we did that, from the DeVos PAC, controlled by Mike HCREC, there was flyers that went out to all the people in Hillsdale County, all the registered voters in Hillsdale County, with only the moderate Republican Blue Dog Democrats on it for who to vote for as precinct delegate. So now we realize that Mike HCREC's involved in this. So we didn't have any other choice. We convened a meeting, and now our bylaws have an Article 7, Section 4, which says that we can disavow candidates. Now, mind you, none of these people have ever come to a meeting the vast majority of them, I'd say probably 99% of them, had never come to a meeting the whole time we'd been having meetings. They hadn't come to any events. They hadn't sponsored or come to the Lincoln Day dinner, which was a huge success all across the state of Michigan. We still have people talking in other counties about it that want us to throw another one. And when we do, they want to be first in line for tickets. So they never came and helped with anything. They uh, would backstab us and badmouth us in the shadows. They never would they come and do a face to face. They wouldn't show up. We had reserved spots for all of them at every meeting. That was Wahlberg and Shirkey and Fink and all of them. All of our elected county officials, we had seats for all of them to sit in, reserved right up front. We had brought in uh, all of the America First gubernatorial candidates but one. And there was, of course, James Craig wouldn't come because, let's face it, he was a Blue Dog Democrat as well. And so uh, we were stuck with a problem. Now, uh, in the past, case precedent, when I was first made parliamentarian, when Steve Veer was the chair, anytime I'd bring up a point of order that we weren't following the bylaws, Steve Veer and Darcy Salmon and a couple others would say, well, we can take a vote, 2/3 majority vote that are sitting here right now, and we can suspend the bylaws. And I said, I don't think you can. No, we can. And so they did that on quite often, on quite a few occasions. So that's case precedent. That means that if they're going to be allowed to do it, we're allowed to do the same thing. And so, because it was an extraordinary circumstance, the same way that the Michigan uh, state convention was run in 2020 because of COVID and nobody could get a building, they did it all over the phone, and they suspended the bylaws then, the very same way that we did. We suspended the bylaws in which we had 10 members that in writing wanted a meeting. We did resolutions for those that were thwarting the leadership of the Republican Party and those that were conspiring to fix an election. And we didn't like that they're fixing an election. Number one, that's the first thing. The second thing is they all violated Article 1, Section 2B of the bylaws. And by not ever showing up, by not ever pushing forward the platforms of the Republican Party, by not ever pushing forward the values, the 7 values of the Republican Party. So they violated all of that, showed themselves to not be Republicans. And so they were disavowed. They were disavowed on the 28th of July. On that same date, we added to the bylaws Section 5 under Article 7, which gave anybody that was disavowed, that, of course, this had never been in the bylaws before, that gave anybody that was disavowed a pathway to get back into the Republican Party, the local Republican, Hillsdale Republican Party, if they felt that they were disavowed unjustly or unfairly. That's in our bylaws. And we notified everyone that was disavowed what that Section 5 entailed. We included that on the disavowalment paperwork. So they knew how to get back into the party if they wanted to. It's their pride and arrogance that keeps them from filing a grievance with the chair and going through the vetting committee to be vetted, to be brought back into the party if they so wish. Now, we did have one person, Ken Koopman. He filed a grievance with the chair, and that was handled precisely the way the bylaws say that it was supposed to be handled. And he was actually voted in all yeas but one abstention when the vote was taken. So Ken was allowed back into the Republican Party. So this is what's going on in your county, and this is what's going on with your elected officials. Now, when we kept them from coming to the Republican Party county convention, it's because they were not duly elected Republican precinct delegates. Because prior to the election, they were disavowed by our bylaws and it is the party that decides who is and isn't Republican. Um, and I'll go through the finer points of that in the law in in the next video. But for them to make claims that we broke the law, we simply did not. They were when they were elected, and it's too late to get their names off the ballot. When they were elected, they were not elected as Republicans because they had been disavowed as Republicans, disavowed from the local party as Republicans prior to the election. Now, people say, well, but the people still voted on them. Okay. Let's say we have an election and there's three people running: Stalin, Hitler, and Moses. But Moses doesn't get on the ballot. And when you look at the ballot, you only have a choice between Stalin and Hitler. So people make their vote. Now, if people would have known that Moses was a was a candidate they could have voted for, but he wasn't allowed on the ballot. Don't you see a problem with that? That's the problem we had. The people weren't given a fair choice of all the people that could have been voted for. They were given the choice that the elitists, that the Blue Dog Democrats, that the elected officials in your town wanted you to have. They didn't give you a fair choice. They gave you their choice. And I'll cover some more in the next video.